Welcome to today's explainer. So, today we're tackling something that usually comes with a huge cloud of fear and, honestly, a lot of confusion, but we are going to completely demystify it together. We're tracing the fascinating and, frankly, kind of terrifying journey of a single rogue cell that ultimately leads to colon cancer. By the end of this presentation, you're going to have a crystal clear understanding of exactly how this disease operates, minus all that intimidating medical jargon.
Okay, let's dive right into this. Here is our roadmap for today. Number 1, birth of cancer cells. Number 2, why does cancer metastasize? 3, metastasis route, liver and lungs. 4, where colon cancer occurs. 5, how stage classification works. And finally, number 6, the fear of no symptoms. Section 1, birth of cancer cells, understanding the origins of a tumor.
So, what exactly is a malignant tumor? Well, in plain English, which is what cancer is, it's a mass of cells that selfishly divide. They just don't cooperate with your normal cells at all. Your healthy body completely relies on this intricate cooperation and balance to function, right? But malignancy, it's just chaotic and destructive. These cancer cells actively destroy the surrounding healthy tissue as they endlessly expand. Contrast that with a benign tumor. A benign tumor might grow, sure, but eventually it hits a limit and just stops. So how does a completely normal, healthy part of your highly cooperative body suddenly spawn something so completely selfish and destructive? Like, where does it even come from?
It really all comes down to a staggering numbers game involving your cellular life cycle. Every single day, your body is going through millions of normal cell deaths and routine regenerations. Literally, it's happening inside you right now. But here's the catch. Living longer naturally means your body has to undergo millions upon millions of more cellular regenerations. And every single time a cell regenerates, there's this tiny statistical chance of a genetic error or mutation popping up. Aging isn't necessarily a biological flaw. Actually, scratch that. Think of it more like a statistical numbers game. As we age, and especially once we hit around age 55, these errors start to accumulate at a much higher rate. And it's not just one single error, it's a pileup of multiple genetic mistakes. Throw in certain dietary habits, like eating excessive amounts of processed meats, and you can trigger and accelerate those errors even further. Eventually, enough of these errors stack up and boom, step 4, you have the birth of a rogue cancer cell.
Section 2. Why does cancer metastasize? The mechanics of cellular spread.
Now, I want you to really think about this for a second. Why exactly does cancer spread? I mean, if a tumor starts in the colon, why doesn't it just stay in the colon? What's the mechanical failure that allows a localized problem to suddenly become a system-wide crisis?
Well, normal cells are designed to stick tightly together to maintain the structure of your organs. Think of this healthy cellular adhesion like incredibly strong industrial Velcro, just holding everything perfectly in place. Cancer cells, however, have extremely weak adhesion. Their cellular glue is fundamentally flawed. It functions a lot more like, cheap wet tape. And because of this fatal flaw, as the cancer cells rapidly multiply at the edges of the tumor, they just easily detach from the main pack. Once this rogue cell breaks away, it doesn't just sit there doing nothing. It literally floats away into the surrounding lymph fluid, completely hijacking the body's natural fluid highways.
Section 3, metastasis route, liver and lungs, mapping the biological highway.
Now, what's really interesting about this breakdown is how it maps out the journey, almost like a rogue vehicle speeding down a biological highway. It starts at year 0, right at its origin on the colon wall. When it breaks off into the lymph fluid, its first stop is the lymph nodes. Now, lymph nodes act like nets. They're designed to catch bacteria, but rogue cancer cells easily get tangled and trapped in these narrow spaces where they just set up camp and grow. But if they manage to slip through that net and get into the bloodstream, well, almost all blood from the colon flows directly to the liver. That's our year 2 stop. The liver processes nutrients, and to do this efficiently, its blood vessels become incredibly narrow, so the cancer cells get physically wedged in these tight biological roads and start multiplying. If they survive the liver, the blood pumps them onward to the lungs, our year 3 stop, where vessels narrow dramatically once again to exchange oxygen. So basically, every single time the body's highway narrows, it creates a deadly trap where these rogue cells can easily lodge and thrive. Section 4, where colon cancer occurs. Anatomy of the large intestine.
When we look at where these initial tumors actually form, there's this incredible symmetry to it. 30% of colon cancers occur in the rectum, right at the very end. Another 30% occur just above that in the sigmoid colon, which is that S-shaped curve. And yet another 30% occur on the right side of the colon. The final 10%? That's just scattered across other areas. What this surprising 30-30-30-10 split tells us is that almost the entire 1 to 2 meter length of this organ is equally vulnerable to these genetic errors accumulating in the lining. It's totally wild.
Section 5. How stage classification works. Decoding medical staging.
So, the crucial point here is that despite all the incredibly scary, complicated medical jargon patients hear, it really all boils down to just 3 simple questions doctors are trying to answer to categorize the danger level. First, depth of invasion. Has the tumor just scratched the surface mucosa, or has it broken deep through the intestinal wall? Second, lymph node metastasis. Have those rogue cells broken off and gotten trapped in the nearby lymph node nets? And third, distant metastasis. Has the cancer traveled the blood highways all the way to distant organs like the liver or lungs? That is literally it. Just those 3 simple questions.
The absolute easiest way to understand staging is to actually start at the worst-case scenario and work backward. So if you have distant metastasis in the liver or lungs, it doesn't matter how deep the original tumor is, you are immediately stage 4. If it hasn't reached the liver, but it has reached the lymph nodes, you're stage 3. If it hasn't spread to the lymph nodes at all, then doctors only look at the depth. Deep invasion is stage 2, shallower is stage 1. And finally, stage 0 is the best possible scenario. The cancer has just formed and is completely trapped in the surface mucosa, not invading the wall at all. Starting with the most extreme criteria makes this entire sort of system instantly make sense, doesn't it?
And how often do patients actually fall into each of these categories when they're first diagnosed? It's a surprisingly balanced distribution that's incredibly easy to remember. 20% are diagnosed at stage 1, 30% at stage 2, another 30% at stage 3, and 20% at stage 4. It's a perfectly symmetrical 20-30-30-20 split. This really shows that we are catching this disease across all stages of its evolution. But more importantly, because 50% of cases, that's stages 1 and 2, are caught before they hit the lymph nodes, it means early detection is incredibly viable and extremely common.
Section 6. The fear of no symptoms. The silent danger of early cancer.
Here's the harsh reality, guys. In its early stages, colon cancer has absolutely 0 symptoms, like none. You cannot feel a stage 0 or stage 1 tumor growing inside your colon. Because those cells are trapped in the surface mucosa and haven't grown deep or spread yet, they don't trigger pain, they don't block digestion, and they don't bleed enough to notice. It is completely silent and completely invisible to you as you just go about your daily life.
So I want to leave you with this final, really vital question. If early cancer is silent and invisible, what steps are you going to take today to ensure your body isn't hiding a deadly secret? Because as we've seen, by the time symptoms do actually appear, like blood from a tumor getting scraped by passing stool, that rogue cell might have already started its journey down your body's highways. Knowledge is your absolute best defense. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and I really hope this empowers you to take charge of your health. Keep learning, stay vigilant, and I will see you in the next one.